Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. It's great to be in Noosa. Next week, I'm off to Mongolia, where it's -15, and there's definitely no surf club, so yeah, it's great to be in Noosa. My name is Brendan Stats, and yeah, I'm the CEO of TMK Energy. So what is TMK Energy? So TMK Energy is a ASX-listed Australian gas explorer, and we are 100% focused on our coal seam gas project in Mongolia, called the Gurvantes XXXV Project. So I'm here today to talk about the project, the Gurvantes project, but first off, why coal seam gas and why Mongolia? And the real answer is because of the size of the prize. Mongolia is very well known for its large coal deposits, which are actively mined in the South Gobi, and that coal was exported to China. But up until recently, no one's really looked at those coal fields for their coal seam gas potential. Until the last couple of years, and there's a number of Australian companies which are now leading the charge, doing this frontier exploration in these very large coal fields, including Elixir, who you heard from earlier today. And why are they Australian companies? It's because we're bringing that experience from the coal seam gas industry in Australia, which developed very quickly over the last 20 years to be now a very important industry, particularly here in Queensland. So we're bringing that experience from Australia and applying it to Mongolia. And the analogy is really trying to replicate that success from Queensland in particular and applying that to Mongolia. So I just want to talk about the project today, and the key highlights of the project are really the size, the quality, and the location of the project. So in terms of size, we're talking about a very large project, 8,500 square kilometre project, but also in terms of resource, we've got a 2C plus 2U resource of 6.5 trillion cubic feet of gas. So a very, very large gas project. In terms of quality, we're in the early stage of exploration, but the data we've gathered so far really points to a world-class coal seam gas project. And location, which has been touched on before, we're very close to Mongolia's energy poor and desperate for energy, but also we're located 20 kilometres from China and close to infrastructure in northern China, and China being the largest energy market in the world. So that presents a significant advantage as well. So that's why we're in Mongolia, and that's why we're looking for coal seam gas. So just quickly on the corporate snapshot, we have a market cap of around 45 million. We have about 5 million bucks in the bank. And just on the register, board and management have about 50% of the shares on issue, so plenty of skin in the game from the board and management team. And we also have significant Mongolian ownership of shares, which I think is important considering our key project is in Mongolia. Onto the board and management team. We have a great range of skills and experience on both the board and management team, and that includes both Australian and Mongolian nationals, which really matches the company's operations and current goals. As I mentioned, I'm the CEO, and my background is I've been working on and off in Mongolia for about 12 years. My expertise is in coal and coal seam gas, and particularly in the South Gobi Basin of Mongolia. So this slide is really for a bit of background on the company and the project, and I won't go into too much detail, but I guess what I would like to highlight is we drilled the first coal seam gas exploration well in this project 18 months ago. We commenced drilling 18 months ago, and in that 18-month period now we've moved to defining a very, very large contingent resource of 1.2 TCF to flowing gas from 3 production wells today. And so I think that really highlights our ability to move this project forward quickly and cost effectively. And we do have an exciting next period, 3 to 6 months, where we're aiming to take this project through really key development milestones and really focused around the commerciality of the project. So just quickly onto the geology, and this is a summary of the exploration results from we achieved last year. And just in summary, the exploration program was 100% successful. All the wells intersected very thick coal, which we knew from Mongolia, from the coal mining experience, that there's very thick coals, but importantly, they were very gassy. And in terms of a coal seam gas project, what do you need? These are the 4 key technical parameters that you need. You need the coal, you need the gas in the coal, it's got to be methane, and then you need permeability, which allows you to extract it. And so, based on these results, this is what points to a world-class coal seam gas project. So based on that very successful program last year, we were able to independently certified a contingent resource of 1.2 trillion cubic feet. So just to try and put that in perspective, 1.2 trillion cubic feet sold at $10 a gigajoule is about $13 billion worth of gas. So as I mentioned at the start, why we're there is because of the size of the prize. Very, very large gas project and potential. So just a couple of other things around the resource estimate. That was based on a very modest program that we completed last year, which cost around $1.5 million. So, that demonstrates the low cost but high value outcomes. And importantly, that resource estimate is from less than 1% of the project area. So there's plenty of upside here in terms of the project. And, the scale and the potential of the project is enormous. Yeah, so I keep saying the data points to a world-class coal seam gas project, and I think this chart on the bottom left really demonstrates this. The chart on the bottom left is looking at resource density, or the amount of gas in the ground per square kilometre. And we're comparing here the Gurvantes project in Mongolia against some of the most well-known coal seam gas, or developed coal seam gas fields in the world, being the Powder River Basin in the US and the Surat and the Bowen Basin here in Australia. And so on the chart you can see the small blue dots. They're those existing coal seam gas developed fields, and they sort of operate at between 4 to 6 BCF per square kilometre. And there we have the Gurvantes project up in the top right corner, up at 33 BCF per square kilometre. So that's just highlighting the resource density, but this gives our project a significant advantage looking forward in terms of development, in terms of cost of development and operating margins. So onto the plans and work that we've done this year. There were two key aspects of the work program this year. They were the pilot well program and an exploration program. So the pilot well program is really the important catalyst for us going forward. We've defined a very large resource in the ground, and now it's about whether we can get that resource out. And so really the goal of the pilot well program is to flow that gas to surface, understand the production profiles, and demonstrate the commerciality of the project. So the pilot well program itself involves drilling 3 production wells, basically in the centre of that area, which has that 1.2 TCF of resource, and then operating those wells for at least 6 months to understand the production profile of that reservoir. So the 3 wells we can see on the screen there, they were all drilled successfully, on time and on budget. Intersected 60 to 70 metres of coal in the production interval, which is the thickest of any coal seam gas project that I know of. And I think it's probably important to note that these are very simple, cheap vertical wells which we're using here. So nothing too fancy, nothing very expensive. So on to the results. We turned these pilot wells on about 3.5 months ago, and so far the results are very, very positive in terms of achieving our goals. The 3 things we want to see from a pilot well program is we want to see, first of all, good water production rates. Water production is related to permeability, which is also related to gas production rates. So the good water rates really indicate potentially future good gas production rates. So that's what we've seen. We've a peak rate of 650 barrels of water per day combined from the 3 vertical wells. So good permeability and good water rates. The second thing we want to see is the ability to actually effectively depressurise that reservoir, which effectively means dewatering the coal seam to lower that pressure, and that's what allows that gas to flow. So far in the 4 months we've been in production, we've seen that reservoir pressure dropping. So we're getting there. So I think it shows that we are going to get a result from this pilot well program. We are effectively able to depressurise the reservoir. And the third thing, and the one that probably interests people the most, is gas flow. So we saw gas flow very early on in the production profile, and then for the last 3 months, it's continuously flowing, and those production rates are steadily and slowly increasing. So that's what we want to see. But just in terms of coal seam gas wells, generally you don't see peak rates out of these gas wells for a number of years. But over the next period of 3 to 6 months, we expect to understand the production characteristics of the reservoir and be able to demonstrate the commerciality of this project. So, so far, very encouraged by the results of the pilot well program and going very well. So the second main aspect of the work program this year was another exploration program, and hopefully, as you can see on the map, last year we focused on the western portion of the project area, and this year we stepped 100 kilometres to the east and focused our drilling there in partnership with a coal mine operator which operates in that area. So we're just about to wrap up the drilling program. The results are still coming in, but we're very encouraged by the fact that 2 of the holes, being those 2 green dots you can see up the top right there, intersected again very thick and gassy coal, 45 metre coal seam to 55 metre coal seam at shallow depths with high gas. And this is in the same geological formation which we're targeting with the pilot well program. So it's very encouraging that in both the west and the east of the block, in the same geological formation, we're getting thick, gassy coal seams. And I think what it points to, or what it indicates, is the enormous potential and prospectivity of this project. And we do know there's coal projects all the way between those two dots where the coal resources have been defined, and that'll obviously be a target for us next year. Coal seam gas, it's going well. We're flowing gas to surface, but I just want to touch on the markets. And there's very significant opportunities in Mongolia for natural gas to play a really important role in the growth and transition of that energy market. In general, Mongolia is energy short, and they're desperate for a cleaner, domestically sourced energy to address some of their significant issues around energy security, reliability, and independence. Obviously, they're sandwiched between Russia and China, and are really relying on those two partners for most of their energy needs, which is probably not a great place to be honest. Just more locally in our area, just an example of the demand, we've already signed an offtake agreement with the coal mining operator around the pilot well production. So they're in need of reliable energy as well, and so any gas we produce from these pilot wells, we'll be able to commercialise at a relatively small scale, supplying that local market with power. But obviously, a very large multi-TCF gas project needs a really big market, and that's one of the key locations, which I think Neil touched on earlier, was that a key advantage here is that we're 20 kilometres from the border with China and close to that gas infrastructure in northern China. So the Chinese energy thematic's relatively well known, but the demand is enormous and it's growing, and there is a particular appetite for gas in China. So I think that means the Gurvantes project is very well placed to take advantage of that Chinese demand for energy. So I'm not sure, probably not a lot of you know a lot about Mongolia, so I thought I'd just quickly touch on Mongolia. So I've worked on and off in Mongolia over the last 12 years, and I obviously like the place, albeit no Noosa, but the economy is very reliant on natural resource industry, and they're very supportive of new projects and natural resources, particularly ones that can have a tangible benefit to the local, to the domestic market. And therefore, with gas, we're seeing a lot of support within Mongolia in terms of developing and encouraging this burgeoning natural gas industry. I've talked a lot about the project, but just on the corporate front, recently we announced that we've signed a binding term sheet with TMK Energy, which is another ASX-listed oil and gas explorer, to acquire their 33% interest in this Gurvantes project, and therefore bring the ownership of the project back to 100% within TMK. We've had a close to 3-year relationship with TMK Energy, and who initially farmed into the project. And I think you'd say it's been a very, very successful relationship in terms of it's really responsible for getting the Gurvantes project to its current stage. So, a very fruitful relationship. But I think looking forward, bringing back the ownership of 100% into TMK is great for our shareholders and also the TPD shareholders for a number of reasons. But the key really is that it sets TMK up well to develop this project in a way that maximises value for all shareholders. So that's really it, and I have been through a lot of information here quite quickly, but I'd just like to recap on some of the investment highlights and the opportunity at the moment. So what TMK has is we have a world-class coal seam gas project located in southern Mongolia, close to both domestic and Chinese energy markets. We have been able to move this project very quickly through some of the key development milestones over the last 18 months. And looking forward, over the next 3 to 6 months, we expect to take it again through some very important project development stages. And so, it's a very exciting time for TMK.